Imagine a woman who could drink any cowboy under the table, who carried more guns than a sheriff, and who never lost a fight in her entire life. Now imagine that same woman delivering your mail through blizzards and wolf attacks for 8 straight years without missing a single day. Sounds impossible. Well, meet Mary Fields, the most badass mail lady who ever lived. Mary was 6 feet 2 inches tall. In the 1800s, that made her taller than most men. She smoked cigars, drank whiskey, and settled arguments with her fists. But here's the crazy part. She started her wildest adventures when she was already over 60 years old, born a slave in Tennessee. Mary got her freedom after the Civil War. Most people would settle down at that point, but not Mary. She had bigger plans, way bigger. She became friends with a nun named Mother Amadeus, who was heading to Montana to start a school. Montana in 1884 was basically the end of the world. Freezing cold, full of wild animals, and filled with the roughest men you could imagine. The nun asked Mary to come along and help. Mary said yes immediately. When Mary stepped off that train in Montana, the local cowboys couldn't believe their eyes. Here was this giant woman carrying a rifle, smoking a cigar, and looking like she owned the place. And you know what? She pretty much did. At the mission, Mary did every dangerous job nobody else wanted. Need someone to fight off wolves? Call Mary. Need supplies hauled through a snowstorm? Mary's your girl. Need someone to stand guard all night against bandits? Mary would grab her gun and a bottle of whiskey and handle it personally. The local saloons had never seen anything like her. Picture this. Mary walks into a crowded bar full of tough miners and cowboys. She orders a drink, lights up a cigar, and challenges anyone to arm wrestle. Most of the time, nobody took her up on it. Those who did usually regretted it. But Mary's real claim to fame came when she was 63 years old. The post office had a problem. They needed someone to deliver mail on the most dangerous route in Montana. The route went through mountain passes where mail carriers had disappeared. Wolves, bears, bandits, and weather that could kill you in minutes. Previous mail carriers had quit. Some had died. Nobody wanted the job. Mary walked into the post office and said she'd take it. The postal workers thought she was joking. An elderly, black woman wanting to take on the deadliest mail route in America. She knew those mountains better than anyone, and she wasn't afraid of anything that lived in them. For the next 8 years, Mary Fields never missed a delivery. Not once. She became known as Stagecoach Mary, and her reputation spread across the entire Wild West. When snow got too deep for her horses, Mary would strap on snowshoes and carry the mail on her back. When her wagon broke down, she'd fix it herself with whatever she could find. When bandits tried to rob her, they found themselves looking down the barrel of her rifle and quickly decided they had better things to do. The communities along her route loved her. Kids would watch for her wagon and run out to greet her. Adults would gather around to hear news from other towns. Mary wasn't just delivering mail. She was the lifeline that connected isolated frontier communities to the rest of the world. Other mail carriers would seek her out for advice. How do you handle wolves? How do you navigate in a blizzard? How do you fix a broken wagon wheel in the middle of nowhere? Mary had answers for everything because she'd lived through it all. Winter was the worst time. Temperatures would drop to 40 degrees below zero. Snow would pile up higher than a person's head. Winds would howl like banshees. Normal people would stay inside and wait for spring. Mary would hitch up her wagon and head out into the storm. She had her methods. Mary would wrap herself in buffalo robes and wool blankets. She'd keep a bottle of whiskey handy, not just for warmth, but to pour on frozen wagon parts to get them moving again. She carried extra food for her horses and enough ammunition to fight off an army. But it wasn't just about being tough. Mary was smart. She knew which routes to take in different weather. She could read the sky and predict storms hours before they hit. She understood animal behavior and could tell when predators were nearby. She had survival skills that most mountain men would envy. The respect she earned was incredible. In a time when black people faced discrimination everywhere and women were considered too weak for dangerous jobs, Mary Fields commanded respect from everyone she met. Cowboys would tip their hats. Miners would buy her drinks. Even the toughest frontiersmen would listen when she spoke. Her reputation grew with every successful delivery. Stories spread about the legendary Stagecoach Mary, who could outshoot any man, outdrink any cowboy, and deliver mail through conditions that would kill a grizzly bear. When Mary finally retired from the Postal Service in 1903, she was 71 years old. She opened a laundry business in town and became something of a local celebrity. Visitors would come just to meet the famous Stagecoach Mary and hear her stories. But here's the sad part. Despite being one of the most remarkable people in American history, Mary Fields was almost completely forgotten after she died in 1914, while male cowboys and gunfighters became legends in books and movies. Mary's story was only remembered by the people who actually knew her. For nearly 100 years, one of the greatest frontier heroes remained unknown to most Americans. It wasn't until researchers started digging into Postal Service records that Mary's incredible story came to light again. Think about what Mary accomplished. She was born a slave, gained her freedom, moved to one of the most dangerous places in America, and became the most reliable mail carrier in the territory's history. When society told her she couldn't do any of those things, Mary didn't listen to what society said. She listened to her own heart and created her own rules. She proved that courage doesn't depend on your background, your age, or what other people think you can do. Mary Fields showed that if you're determined enough and tough enough, you can accomplish anything. The woman who started life as a slave became the queen of the Montana frontier. She earned her crown through grit, determination, and an unbreakable spirit that couldn't be conquered by anything. Not wolves, not bandits, not blizzards, and certainly not prejudice. Mary Fields may have been forgotten by history books for too long, but her legend lives on in the mountains of Montana and in the hearts of everyone who believes that true heroes come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. She was the unseen queen of the frontier, ruling over her domain with strength, wisdom, and a loaded rifle. And now, finally, everyone can know her name. If you loved learning about this incredible badass who conquered the Wild West, hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing stories about forgotten heroes who changed history. What other legendary figures should we bring back from the shadows? Let us know in the comments. Ring that notification bell and share this story with anyone who needs to know that the toughest mail carrier in history was a woman who refused to let anything stop her.